What's up, everyone? Mr. NoobTube Gamer. Today we're playing Battlefield 2142, 18 years later. Sadly, the game is pretty dead, and there aren't a whole lot of players online. The servers on weekends, during peak hours, only have about 4 or 5 players. The most people I've seen at once was like 10 or 11, which was actually not the case. The last time I covered this game, back in 2021, that was a few months before 2042 came out, so I think what happened then, when you actually had full servers, it was all people who were excited for the new Battlefield game, because the series was going back to a futuristic setting, and of course the name 2042 and 2142 were similar, so yeah, a lot of the 2042 hype came into 2142, but that didn't last very long, sadly, and now the game is pretty much dead. I would say of all the Battlefield games that are playable in 2024, this one has the least amount of players online, which definitely sucks because it's a good game. It's really good, actually. The best way to describe it is a futuristic version of Battlefield 2. It has the same core gunplay and feel of BF2, but with futuristic weapons and vehicles, and the design that they had for some of these things are actually very unique and interesting because they had so much artistic creativity to have a game taking place over 150 years in the future. They pretty much went all out and did a lot with that concept, and I say they did a much better job than they did with 2042 and also with the Call of Duty series, if we're talking about those futuristic games, Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3. This was definitely the best futuristic military game of all those ones that I mentioned. I think the only games that have come out since 2142, as far as futuristic military shooters are concerned, that even comes close to the quality of this game is probably the Titanfall games. I'm honestly not sure why it is, because Battlefield 2 has so much more players. You get 2 or 3 full servers, almost 64 players in 3 servers, and it doesn't even matter when you're playing. Even during off-peak hours, you're going to find an almost full server all the time. But 2142 is just like nothing. No one's on. Even 1942, which was the first Battlefield game that came out way back in 2002, it's not often that you get full servers, but you can get 20, 30, 40 players on at the same time, which is a lot more than 2142 has. So it's weird that this is like the newest of, I would say, the old school Battlefield games that were PC exclusive and way before the modern era, right? But at the same time is the least populated one. And that's just so fucking weird to me. It's not like this game was trash or there was anything wrong with it. It was actually really fun, especially Titan mode. You guys remember Titan mode? Anyone who played 2142 would know what I'm talking about. Ooh, that was something special, where you had 2 giant ships for each team, and the enemy had to fly into your ship and try to destroy it from within. God, the aerial combat in this game was something else. Probably the best that the Battlefield series has ever seen. Unfortunately, if you come back to this game in 2024, you won't really be able to relive the glory days of 2006 because the community just is so small. Plus, you have to install it through unofficial means, so you have to find a cracked version pretty much in order to play it because you can't really get a physical copy. And even if you could, get one online, who the hell has a CD drive on their PCs anymore, right? And then you gotta download the custom Battlefield 2142 hub in order to get online functionality back into the game, because the official servers were shut down in 2014. So as awesome as the game was, we're talking about the playability of the game now. And I think it's fair to say that because of how tiny the player base is, how relatively complicated it is to set up, I mean, it wasn't that hard for me to get it going, but it's a lot more involved than just simply installing the game and being done with it. Like, there is a few steps that you have to take, which, you know, if you're not a patient person, you might not want to deal with. And at the end of the day, we have about 16 or 17 Battlefield games that have come out over the years, and almost all of them have more going for it in 2024 and are probably worth your time a lot more than this game is. You know, and I made that video a few years ago, if you guys remember, where I pretty much just spent half the video trashing the admins because I kept getting kicked out of the server for pretty much no reason. That issue has actually been fixed, and I don't have that problem anymore, but there's also just a fraction of the players that we even had back in 2021 when I last played this game. That being said, it was a very important game in the history of Battlefield. It was the last game where PC was the main focus of the series. After that, it became a console experience pretty much. So if you're a Battlefield enthusiast and you're very fascinated by the history and evolution of the series, then this is a must-play game in order to have a complete Battlefield collection and Battlefield experience. And you see in this gameplay, there was maybe 3 or 4 of us playing in a giant map, and this was on a weekend. I recorded this on a Friday, and there's nobody playing, but if you do run into that, you do have the alternative of playing against bots, because they did restore that functionality. The offline play has also been restored, so if you do install the 2042 hub, or 2142 hub rather, then you'll have that option available to you. But, you know, playing against bots just doesn't feel as satisfying as going against actual human players. So yeah, I'd say for the most hardcore Battlefield fans, you definitely should play it, especially if you never have before, but for your average person, it's probably not worth your time.